Over the last several episodes, we've explored Einstein's relativity. We've seen how space and time merge into spacetime. We've examined the possibility that past, present, and future all exist within a four-dimensional block universe. And we saw how entropy creates the arrow of time, which creates the feeling that time flows. By now, you may be asking a natural question. If physics can explain all of this, can physics explain everything? Can science ultimately answer every meaningful question we can ask? Today, I want to explore where physics shines, where it struggles, and where its limits may lie. To do that, let's begin with what physics does better than any other human endeavor, because understanding what physics cannot tell us may be just as important as understanding what it can. Hi, I'm Lisa. Welcome back to Biblical Reality Check. Physics is one of the most successful human endeavors in history. It explains planetary motion, electricity and magnetism, nuclear energy, and how stars shine. It's due to physics that we can build computers, spacecraft, medical imaging systems, and global communications networks. One of the reasons physics has been so successful is because it asks itself, what does nature do? And then it uses mathematics, observation, and experimentation to find the answer. Along with making extraordinary discoveries, physics is extremely good at describing patterns. When conditions are known, physics can often predict what will happen with astonishing accuracy. Physics explains the underlying mechanisms of the universe by breaking down complex natural phenomena into fundamental laws of forces, energy, and matter. Here are a few examples of the kinds of how questions physics answers exceptionally well. How smart devices sense orientation, how noise-canceling headphones block sound, how touch screens detect your fingers, how microwave ovens heat food, how rainbows form, how the sky changes color, how Earth maintains its magnetic shield, and how stars produce energy. As you can see, physics does an excellent job of answering many how questions, but when we move from mechanisms to meaning, the picture becomes less clear. Consider a few of those kinds of questions, such as why is there something rather than nothing? Why do the laws of physics exist at all? Why do mathematical laws describe nature so effectively? Why is there subjective experience? Why is there meaning? Why is there beauty? Why is there a sense of self? Why are we here? Although physics has addressed aspects of these questions, it has not produced universally accepted answers to them. That could be because some of these questions may not be scientific questions in the first place. A useful analogy is a map. Imagine the most detailed map ever created. It contains every mountain, river, road, city, tree, and bush. The map could be absolutely perfect, yet even a perfect map is not the territory itself. Likewise, a physical description of reality is not reality itself. A mathematical equation describing consciousness is not the experience of consciousness. A model of love is not love. A description of music is not the experience of hearing music. Physics gives us maps, and they are exceptionally good maps, but maps and experiences are not the same thing. Consciousness, your thoughts, emotions, awareness, and experience of listening to these words right now may be one of the clearest examples of that distinction. Neuroscience can identify brain activity. Physics can describe the motion of particles. Chemistry can describe molecules, but a profound mystery remains. Why do physical processes produce subjective experience at all? Why isn't the brain simply information processing without awareness? Why is there something it feels like to be you? These questions are the hard problem of consciousness, and despite tremendous scientific progress, they remain unanswered. Various theories have been proposed, but no consensus explanation has emerged. And those questions become even more interesting when viewed through the lens of the block universe. Suppose for a moment that the block universe is correct. Suppose that every event in spacetime already exists. Physics may describe that structure, and physics may even explain why entropy gives us the sense that time flows. But physics still has not answered another question. Who or what is experiencing that structure? Why is there a first person perspective at all? The block universe may describe the stage, and it may even describe the script, but it does not necessarily explain the existence of the audience. One of the most important lessons to learn when studying the questions of consciousness is that describing a process is not always the same thing as explaining it completely. Imagine asking, why does this hammer exist? You could answer by describing the type of wood used for the handle and steel for the head, or the rotational motion and kinetic energy of a hammer swinging downward. But all of that would not tell you why the hammer is being swung in the first place. Different questions require different levels of explanation. Physics excels at physical explanations, but human beings want the deeper questions answered as well. Questions about purpose, meaning, identity, and value. This is not a criticism of science. In fact, it's the opposite. Good science progresses by recognizing its limits. Historically, many of the greatest scientific breakthroughs occurred because scientists openly admitted what they did not yet understand. The danger comes when we confuse what science currently explains with everything that can possibly be explained. Those are not the same claim. Recognizing the limits of a tool does not diminish its value. It helps us use the tool properly. So, where does all this leave us? What can physics tell us? Physics can tell us about matter, energy, motion, fields, space-time, entropy, and the structure and behavior of the observable universe. But physics has not yet been able to tell us why we exist, why awareness exists, or whether or not reality possesses a deeper purpose. Those questions remain open, and they may require other forms of inquiry alongside science. Throughout this series, we have followed the evidence wherever it led. Relativity challenged our assumptions about time. The block universe challenged our assumptions about the present. Entropy challenged our assumptions about the flow of time. Now we arrive at another challenge, the realization that understanding reality and experiencing reality may not be the same thing. Physics can reveal astonishing truths about the structure of the universe, but even the most complete physical description imaginable may still leave unanswered questions about consciousness, meaning, and existence itself. As we move forward, we'll begin exploring those deeper questions, not by abandoning science, but by recognizing both its extraordinary power and its natural limits. Because sometimes the most important discoveries begin where certainty ends. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching.